I've liked Leo for many years, always firmly holding the position of his good friend. I never even got the chance to confess my feelings. The year his parents died in a car accident, I skipped class and took the overnight train home to help him with the funeral arrangements. He held me burying his head in the crook of my neck, his voice hoarse, as he said, "You're all I've left." I'm not good with words, unable to offer comforting phrases, so I could only foolishly and directly promise to stay by his side for a lifetime. After everything was settled, I wanted to confess the feelings I'd hidden throughout my youth, but he pleaded with red-rimmed eyes, begging me not to say it. At that time I didn't understand why, nor dared to ask further. Later at a gathering when friends teased us about our relationship, he suddenly became furious. Only then did I realize my decade-long affection had long become a burden to him. He didn't want anyone to expose it, including me, because he wanted to continue living peacefully and harmoniously with me. To be the good friend he spoke of. That day I laughed and denied it, saying I had never liked Leo, that Leo was too much of a playboy to be boyfriend material. After I finished speaking, I saw with my own eyes how he let out a sigh of relief. The term playboy only half describes him. He has had many relationships, but I know he has never truly loved anyone. He just couldn't be bothered to say no. His latest girlfriend seems different. He actually formally told me, "Meet my girlfriend. She's really curious about you." Which of his admirers hasn't he been curious about me? After all, I'm his closest female friend, yet he has never arranged a meeting before. He always said those women were just passing through, no need for them to enter his circle or meet his friends. Why is this person acceptable now? I took 3 deep breaths before pushing open the private room door at the appointed location. 3 people sat inside, 2 men and 1 woman. Leo gave me a slight chin lift as his form of greeting. The girl sitting beside him, wearing a white long dress with her curly hair cascading down her back, quickly stood up and smiled, sweetly waving at me. "Angela, I'm Maria." I frowned almost imperceptibly and responded with a faint smile, "Hello." Maria pointed to another boy nearby. "This is Ethan, my best friend." Hearing this title, I felt a flicker of interest and looked at him more attentively. The boy was quite handsome, different from Leo. He radiated sunshine with a shy yet sincere smile at the corners of his lips. After greeting him politely, I took the empty seat beside him. Leo finally spoke up, resting his elbows on the table and leaning slightly toward me. "Angela, you've never been in a relationship, have you?" It wasn't a question, but a statement of fact. A sour bitterness filled my chest as I nodded with difficulty. He openly discussed this issue in front of his girlfriend, making me feel somewhat embarrassed and awkward. He knew perfectly well that all these years I had liked him so much that I couldn't bring myself to settle for anyone else. "Really, sister Angela, Ethan has been single all this time too." Maria, imitating Leo, rested her elbows on the table, her almond-shaped eyes shimmering clear and bright, yet faintly tinged with expectation, nervousness, and wariness. I understood her emotions. Who would want their boyfriend to have a close female confidant by his side? Holding my glass, I pretended to be composed as I took a sip of lemon water, then smiled and glanced at the boy beside me. Oh, what a coincidence. He instinctively glanced in Maria's direction, and a trace of bitterness flickered in his eyes as realization dawned. I knew all too well what that bitterness meant. It was the same look that had flashed in my own eyes when Leo introduced me to others as his good friend. A sense of shared sorrow welled up in me, and I asked softly, "You've known Maria for many years, haven't you?" He didn't answer, merely curling his eyes into crescents as he nodded with a smile. Would Maria mind Leo having a female friend like me? Then does Leo also mind Maria having a male friend like Ethan? Suddenly, I realized something and turned my gaze back to Leo. He was truly handsome, his milky skin slightly puffy, single eyelids giving off a decadent gloom, his high nose bridge, well-defined lips with a matte dusky hue. My nose tingled with suppressed emotion, pretending nonchalance. I picked up my water glass to quell the anger rising in my chest. After taking a sip, I smiled and asked Leo, "Maria, do you believe in love at first sight?" Leo and Maria's eyes simultaneously shifted to Ethan. I tilted my head slightly to look at him. "I like you. Can I pursue you?" Ethan's smile at the corners of his lips stiffened slightly, his long pale fingers resting on his knees, curling tightly, as if mirroring his tangled emotions. A cheerful ringtone suddenly pierced the silence. It was Maria's phone. After answering quietly, she looked at me apologetically. "Sorry, Angela, I have something to attend to and need to head back. Ethan, could you keep Angela company for me?" Leo saw her out, leaving only Ethan and me in the private room. He relaxed completely, down the water in his glass in one gulp, and said to me as if he'd made a great resolution, "I'm sorry, but there's someone I like." "You like Maria, I like Leo. What a coincidence. There's no reason we shouldn't be together. 2 couples going on dates together is much better than 1 couple plus 2 third wheels. Besides," I picked up the menu, staring intently at the dishes listed, though my vision was already blurred with unshed tears, making it impossible to see clearly. "Maria seems to really want you to let her go. Otherwise, why do you think we're meeting today?" "Leo also really wants me to let him go." I didn't say those words because I didn't want to face them. He could no longer bear my affection, or perhaps he no longer needed it. I couldn't tell whether it was out of spite to give them what they wanted, or in hopes that someone would rescue me from this senseless reality. I desperately wanted Ethan to say yes. Probably not expecting my bluntness, Ethan's ears and neck visibly flushed red, his eyes brimming with complex emotions. After a moment of silence, he nodded and said okay. At that moment, the private room door was pushed open and Leo stood at the entrance, his expression momentarily stunned. He sat down across from me, curling his lips into a faint smile. "Haven't seen you in a while. You seem to have put on some weight." The summer after the college entrance exams, he got drunk late at night and called me to pick him up. When I arrived, he was already passed out on the bar table, completely unresponsive. No matter how much I tried to wake him, I had no choice but to carry him on my back, trudging step by uneven step toward his home. The streets were completely empty, utterly silent, bent under his weight. I watched our shadows stretch long under the moonlight, listening to his soft breathing, and didn't he feel the slightest bit of hardship. Just as we reached his apartment building, he woke up, patting my shoulder with a laugh. "You little chubby sure are strong." I was furious when he called me little chubby, so I spent the entire summer losing weight, dropping from 115 pounds to 100. When he found out, he gloated, "My words are that effective. Then if you ever dare to gain weight again, you'll have to carry me while running a marathon." Recalling that memory, I smiled bitterly and raised an eyebrow at Ethan, asking, "Am I fat?" Ethan was taken aback. "Not at all. I think you're just right." Leo smiled and pointed at the menu. "Order something, you know what I like to eat." Suddenly irritated by his confidence, I deliberately ordered the dishes he hated: cabbage, braised pork, and tomatoes. Leo didn't seem to mind. He leaned back in his chair, his long lashes lowered, his slender fingers typing rapidly on his phone, occasionally flashing a doting smile. For a moment, I felt dazed. What did my childish antics even prove? Should I declare my anger, resentment, and unwillingness, or should I tell him that I truly understand him? Not only do I know what he loves to eat, but I also know what he dislikes. After dinner, Leo went to find Maria. Sitting in Ethan's car listening to the soothing music, I suddenly felt utterly exhausted. The pain of unrequited love over these years suddenly surged into my heart, crushing me until I could barely breathe. "Ethan, how much do you love Maria?" "I don't know," he said, glancing sideways at me, "but I just can't bring myself to let her go." Tears instantly streamed down my face. Every unrequited affection is an untold sorrow. He handed me a few tissues, his eyes also reddening under the influence of my emotions. After taking them, I wiped away my tears. "I've never been in a relationship before. I'm counting on you." "Neither have I, but leave it to me," he said, meeting my gaze with a gentle smile. "From now on, you'll be my girlfriend." "Tell me, will we be happier than them?" I gazed at the speeding traffic outside the window, as if asking him, yet also myself. "Being with you is about giving each other a chance, not about proving a point to anyone." He spoke each word with deliberate seriousness, the tips of his ears tinged with a faint blush. Sunlight streamed into the car, casting a vibrant vitality upon him. Even the fine down on his face glowed with a tender radiance. I stared at him in astonishment, speechless for a long while. After arriving at the neighborhood, Ethan quickly got out of the car and ran to the passenger side to open the door for me. He smiled with his eyes crinkling, his gaze revealing a mix of shyness and nervousness. I looked up at him, my heart trembling, as if a feather had lightly brushed past, sending a tingling wave through me. "Thank you," I whispered softly, feeling heat rise uncontrollably to my face. He shyly averted his gaze, and when he mustered the courage to look at me again, his fair complexion had flushed pink with a faint sheen of sweat glistening on his smooth forehead. "I'll study hard to learn how to be a good boyfriend, so your first relationship can be a great experience." His earnest expression made me laugh. "Great experience, isn't that what you say to customers?" That evening, Leo added me to a group chat with him, Maria, and Ethan. The group was named Love Squad. I found it amusing, muted the notifications, and soon after, Maria sent me a friend request. Her profile picture is as sweet as she is in person. Every sentence comes with an adorable sticker and a cute interjection. She wanted to talk to me about Leo, but I resisted and replied coldly. Sensing this, she steered the conversation toward Ethan. She told me Ethan had always been a top student, winning scholarships left, and right now he's in charge of product development at a company with excellent benefits, owns a home, drives a nice car, has healthy parents with pensions, a perfect marriage prospect, she said, urging me not to miss out. She even promised that if Ethan ever mistreated me, I should tell her immediately. She'd teach him a lesson on my behalf. I held my phone, lost in thought. She knew Ethan was good for her, yet she just didn't want him. Leo must have felt the same way, abandoning dignity and pride, going to great lengths for them. It only made things difficult for them and humiliating for himself. My phone suddenly vibrated, a message from Leo. "Did you get together with him? Because of me?" My nose stung as I quickly threw away my phone and buried myself under the covers, not daring to move for a long time. Memories of Leo kept flashing through my mind. "Angela, I'm so glad you're here. Angela, thank you for being with me. You're such a good friend. Angela, only you truly understand me." I meant so much to him, yet he stubbornly refused to fulfill my greatest wish. The phone rang persistently. With a sigh, I picked it up and answered the call. No one spoke on the other, and only the uneven rhythm of breathing came through. As if in a contest of wills, I too fell silent. Time seemed to slow down, each passing second becoming more unbearable. After what felt like an eternity, Leo whispered, "Angela, I'm sorry." He rarely apologized to me, even when he made me angry. He'd always wear that self-assured expression, waiting for me to calm myself down. Today, I really wanted to ask him the reason behind that apology. Was it a clear-cut rejection, or just a vague sense of guilt? My throat felt stuffed with cotton. I swallowed several times before finally managing to speak. "Leo, it's okay." He let out a relieved sigh. "Angela, thank you." I cut him off. "I'm not waiting anymore." Something heavy crumbled silently in some unseen place. My heart felt hollow, yet my entire being seemed lighter. The room's light even appeared brighter. "Angela, what do you mean?" After a moment of silence, he asked cautiously. I didn't respond, hanging up on him for the first time. All these years I'd been waiting for a moment to let go of Leo. When love is defeated by disappointment, I'll be free. Today that breaking point finally arrived. I no longer have the passion to keep exhausting myself. Being with you was about giving each other a chance, not about proving a point to anyone. Suddenly remembering Ethan's words, I felt a stirring in my heart and dialed his number. He answered quickly, his voice clear and charming. Hello, Angela. The way he pronounced Angela was gentle and deliberate. I knocked over the photo of Leo and me on the nightstand, took a deep breath, and adopted a teasing tone. What's so good about me, Ethan? He froze for a moment, then chuckled softly. A subtle ambiguity blossomed between us. Ethan and I made a pact. I wouldn't meet Leo alone, and he would never meet Maria alone. We were determined to take this relationship seriously. Early the next morning, the moment I stepped downstairs, I saw him. The morning sun was radiant as he stood there in a perfectly tailored black suit, his broad shoulders and narrow waist making his long straight legs appear even more striking, tall and straight as a young poplar tree. Unlike his casual style from the day before, today he carried an air of quiet composure. His shirt was buttoned meticulously, accentuating the elegant lines of his throat and the striking prominence of his Adam's apple. A closer look revealed a small brown mole beside that cool pale skin. Angela, good morning, he said, his smile unfolding slowly, his fluffy hair gleaming in the sunlight. I'm here to take you to work. I hadn't expected him to be this serious. Every morning, he would go out of his way to pick me up from my doorstep, bringing a lavish breakfast for the ride, and every evening, he'd show up at my office with desserts to take me home. After a few days like this, I felt somewhat embarrassed and said to him, you don't have to work so hard, I can come find you after work. He lowered his eyelashes and smiled somewhat shyly. I don't find it hard at all. This is how people act when they're in love. I looked it up online. When it came to matters concerning me, he always seemed full of enthusiasm and energy, never showing the slightest impatience. He would even quietly take note of my little habits during our time together. I once saw with my own eyes that he had written in his phone, memo, Angela likes her milk tea with half sugar and no pearls. According to Maria, Ethan even took the initiative to ask Leo about my hobbies, but Leo didn't know anything. Could all these be some dating strategies he looked up online? I felt vaguely disappointed, but in an instant I brightened up. Even if they were dating tactics, they still carried his sincerity and effort. I found myself drowning in the little details he gave me, even developing a bit of the affectation I used to despise when I was single. Several times, as if possessed, I ended up acting coquettishly toward him. Looking back on it now, I can't help but blush with embarrassment. The first time we held hands, I made the move. To be precise, it was my hand that moved first. The moment my fingertips brushed against the back of his hand, he swiftly grabbed hold of me, leaving me no chance to reconsider. Since that time, things spiraled out of control. Whenever I walked with Ethan, he hardly ever let go of my hand. Returning from a movie at night, I spotted a figure standing under the shade of a tree not far away, dressed in black from head to toe, wearing a cap pulled low over the eyes. The slender silhouette carried an inexplicable sense of familiarity. What's wrong? Ethan followed my gaze. Nothing. I shook my head and smiled up at him. Another happy day today, thank you. He affectionately ruffled my hair and handed me the bag. My happiness lies in my girlfriend's happiness. After spending this time together, Ethan had learned to say some subtle sweet nothings, though his ears still turned crimson when he spoke, his gaze appearing both innocent and bashful. It made me unable to resist teasing him a little. How about you come upstairs with me? I said in a deliberately coy voice, pitching my tone higher. Sure enough, the redness on the tips of his ears quickly spread to his face. I laughed triumphantly, but in the next instant my forehead felt cool as something soft brushed against it, like a dragonfly skimming water, there and gone in a flash. The air seemed to freeze, all sound vanishing, until the only thing left in the world was the thunderous pounding of my own heartbeat. After what felt like an eternity, Ethan's deep magnetic voice whispered by my ear, next time I'll definitely go up. I dazedly shifted my gaze from his sharp Adam's apple to his face. His eyes were beautiful, double-lidded with restrained inner corners and elegantly tapered outer corners. His amber irises, much like the color of his hair, reflected my flushed face. Okay, I said, then immediately turned and ran, not daring to look at him again. That evening, when I had finally calmed down from the excitement, Leo sent me a message. You haven't spoken to me in so long. Are you still angry? For a moment there was surprise, followed by a sense of relief. So I could ignore him too, so he wasn't indispensable to me after all. Let us catch up sometime. He sent another message. I'll check with Ethan, I replied. After sending the message, I never received a reply from him. I didn't dwell on it, focusing instead on chatting idly with Ethan about everything under the sun. By the time I remembered to check again, it was already 11 p.m. When I opened Leo's social media, I saw his latest post from 3 minutes ago, a close-up photo of him and Maria cheek to cheek with no caption. In the photo, he gazes quietly at the camera, the corners of his lips slightly downturned, this subtle expression revealing his troubled thoughts. Maria, on the other hand, radiates sweetness from the corners of her eyes to the tips of her brows. It wasn't as painful as I'd imagined, just a lingering sense of regret. As for Leo, the first still hope he can find a little more happiness. I had just like Leo's post when Ethan's video call came through the next second. Fresh out of the shower, his hair was still damp. The warm yellow light cast faint shadows across his brows and eyes, giving him a subtle kind of sexiness. Angela, let me keep you company for a while, he said gently, his gaze steady. I watched him quietly, feeling a comforting warmth spread through some corner of my heart. I'm not sad, thank you. It seems that since we've known each other, the words I've said most to him are thank you. He has always taken care of me, including my little moods, which makes me feel so warm inside. How about you? Do you need me to tell you a joke to cheer you up? I asked. He froze for a moment, furrowing his brows in thought. Seeing her happy makes me quite pleased. For these past few days, when returning home, I've been spotting that person wearing a baseball cap near my house. The figure was all too familiar. Each time I tried to approach for a clearer look, he wouldn't give me the chance, turning away instead. A sudden thought struck me, freezing the blood in my veins as my fingertips turned ice cold. I decided to find out the truth that evening. But just as I was about to leave work, a student rushed into my office in tears, insisting on taking me out to dinner. He was a repeat high school exam student I sponsored, and also attended my tutoring class. After trying unsuccessfully to decline for ages, and with the encouragement of other teachers in the office, I had no choice but to agree. I'll pick the place. I handed him a pack of tissues, and smiled helplessly. Before heading out, I told Ethan not to pick me up since I'd be having dinner with friends in the evening. At the street food stall, my student told me his college entrance exam results were out. He'd gotten into his dream school. Overjoyed, I forgot about my low alcohol tolerance and ended up drinking several rounds with him. Staggering unsteadily, my student said with concern, "Miss Angela, let your boyfriend come get you." The words boyfriend landed on my heart, sounding incredibly sweet with a lingering sugary aftertaste. Covering my face, I laughed out loud. "That's right, I have a boyfriend, haha." Dialing Ethan's number, his clear and pleasant voice came through. "Angela, are you done? I'll come pick you up." When he called my name, his tone was light and cheerful, the ending affectionate, inexplicably carrying a captivating charm. I couldn't help but soften my voice and coo, "I miss you." He might have been stunned, as he didn't respond. Boldened by the alcohol, I continued, "Ethan, come quickly. I really want to see you." "Alright, give me your address. I'll be right there." His voice carried a layer of laughter. After hanging up the phone, I sent my location to Ethan. When I looked up again, I saw the student across from me blushing furiously. "Professor, I think I misunderstood you before. I always thought you were the very rational type." I looked at him through drunken, bleary eyes and shook my head. All these years, my mask of rationality had been forged between the countless disappointments and hopes Leo gave me, but now with someone by my side, I wanted to be brave, to let my guard down. In front of the one you love, reason has no place. I wanted to sound profound and mysterious, but my voice trembled as I spoke, my eyes misting over. By the time Ethan arrived, my mind was buzzing with excitement from the alcohol. The last shred of my rationality told me it was okay to let loose today. With alcohol as my excuse, I rushed forward, wrapped my arms around his waist, pressed against his chest, and looked up at his sharp jawline with a silly grin. "Ethan, I'm drunk," I giggled. "Drunk, but not completely." He carefully supported me. "Why did you drink so much?" A student stepped forward and politely greeted Ethan. "Sorry, I was too excited," and ended up making the teacher drink a couple more glasses with me. I was able to get into my dream school, all thanks to the teacher's financial support and tutoring me after work. Ethan's eyes lit up for a moment as he looked at me, his expression tinged with admiration. He ruffled my hair, his tone as indulgent as if coaxing a child. "Angela, let us go. I'll take you home." He helped me into the car, leaning in to fasten my seatbelt. The distance was so close that I could hear his breathing, clearly staring at his enlarged features. I nervously swallowed, my cheeks burning. Whether intentional or not, his movements were deliberately slow. After buckling me in, he turned his head and gazed at me for a few seconds, his as apple trembling slightly. A faint, elusive longing clawed at my heart like a cat's paw. "Are you uncomfortable?" he asked, glancing at me with confusion after starting the car. Uncomfortable? I gripped the seatbelt across my chest, trying to muster my courage. At a red light, I quickly leaned over and planted a kiss on Ethan's cheek. "That day you kissed my forehead, now we're even." Since we were trying out this relationship, I naturally couldn't let myself be at a disadvantage. I had to return the favor. His breath hitched for a moment, 2 patches of red blooming across his fair cheeks. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel, his spine rigid, as he kept his gaze fixed straight ahead. The air grew still. Flustered, I averted my gaze to look out the car window, uncertain of his mood. I also worried that my earlier actions might have ruined his impression of me. In the end, I chickened out. He remained silent until we got out of the car. I hesitated, unsure how to break the awkward silence. He suddenly held my shoulder, staring at me with serious eyes. "Angela, can I come upstairs with you?" Under my astonished gaze, he moved even closer. "You've had too much to drink. I want to take care of you." Feeling the heat of his breath, my face flushed, and I nodded quickly. Before going upstairs, I saw that man in the baseball cap again. This time, he didn't avoid my gaze, but strode toward me with barely concealed anger. "Angela, are you taking him home?" He stopped in front of me, looking down with an overbearing gaze. The shadow cast by his hat brim made his eyes appear especially dark and gloomy. "And you've been drinking?" I couldn't help but take a step back, my drunkenness fading rapidly. This person was actually Leo. He kept appearing near my apartment building, watching me from a distance. What did it mean? What did he want? Ethan noticed my unease and quietly moved closer, tightening his grip on my hand. I steadied my emotions, curled my lips into a smile, and said, "What's the matter? Can't I bring my own boyfriend home?" Leo reached out to grab me, but Ethan stepped sideways to block him. Standing behind Ethan, I couldn't see his expression, only hearing his calm and resolute voice. "Leo, Angela doesn't like you acting this way." I wrapped my arms around Ethan's waist and peeked out from behind him. "Leo, isn't this what you wanted for me to be with Ethan? Don't worry, I'll stay with him forever. Maria will always be yours." Leo froze for a moment, flames flickering in his eyes. Clenching his jaw, he growled through gritted teeth, "Who said you could be with him?" I stared at him in confusion. Without another word, he curled his lips into a mocking smile, turned on his heel, and strode away in hurried steps. Bathed in the dying light of sunset, his retreating figure looked strangely desolate. I watched for a long while before steadying the fine needle-like ache spreading through my chest. Ethan stayed quietly by my side, not speaking, waiting for me to make a choice. Just as I had calmed myself and was about to take him upstairs, his phone rang. It was Maria. He answered it in front of me, exchanged a few words, then hung up anxiously. "Angela, I'm sorry, I can't stay with you today. Something has happened to Maria." I smiled wearily. "Go ahead." 5 at night, I leaned on the balcony in a daze, when suddenly I noticed someone sitting by the flower bed downstairs smoking. Under the ink-dark sky, starless and moonless, he tilted his head slightly, the crimson glow between his fingers flickering on and off. From such a distance, I couldn't make out his expression, but my mind had already conjured his image, his dark hair casually falling over his forehead, fragmented light dancing in his eyes like a glittering galaxy, the swirling smoke wreathed his silhouette, making the melancholy about him seem even more detached and resolute. I've witnessed this scene too many times, been intoxicated by it too many times, and ached for it too many times. Taking out my phone, I texted Leo, my fingertips trembling, slightly go back inside, it's cold out there. Soon the figure downstairs pulled out his phone, the screen's pale glow looked especially lonely in the night. He stared at the screen for a long time, lost in thought. The light went out. He glanced up toward my direction, then lowered his head and began typing rapidly on his phone. Angela, come down and see me. It's been so long since we've had a proper talk. I fell silent as I read his message. I promised Ethan I wouldn't meet Leo alone, though today he broke his promise first by meeting Maria privately. Yet I still wanted to keep my word. Angela, have you really fallen for Ethan? He asked me again. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time before I finally typed out a line. Leo, I'm saving myself. I can't keep drowning in hopeless feelings, draining my passion for life. Leo looked up at me, his slender figure appearing utterly desolate in the night. A sharp pain pierced my heart, and I quickly stood up, retreating into the house. The next morning I didn't see Ethan downstairs. It was the first time since we started dating that he didn't accompany me to work. Habits are terrifying. Even though I mentally prepared myself, I still felt disappointed. I hadn't walked far when someone suddenly appeared beside me. It was Leo. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his face pale and haggard. He must have stayed up all night waiting downstairs. Neither of us spoke as we walked side by side in silence. When we reached the office building, he lowered his gaze to me, his voice hoarse and barely audible. You mean a lot to me. Tears welled up in my eyes, instantly rolling down my cheeks one by one. Leo and I were middle school classmates. His father was an extremely violent man who particularly enjoyed beating him, and Leo was stubborn. He wouldn't cry when hit, just glared fiercely at his father during the abuse. Once I witnessed it on the street. Leo's mouth was bleeding, yet his father kept kicking him relentlessly. In desperation, I threw myself over him, shielding him with my body, and screamed tearfully at his father, you're going to kill him. Bystanders gathered around. His father, embarrassed, quickly slipped into a nearby gambling den. Leo pushed me away, got up from the ground, spat out a tooth, and looked coldly at me as I sobbed uncontrollably. Baby teeth bleeding, one to kill you, he said. After that, Leo, who had always been a loner and reticent, would wait for me every day on the way to school, and after class he would deliberately linger to walk home with me. Upon closer reflection, it was he who needed me first. It's just that this need never blossomed into love. When he said I was important to him, it was likely because no matter how difficult the circumstances, I never failed to be there whenever he needed me. Leo, I've liked you for so long that I've started to despise myself. Luckily, you shattered my last illusion with your own hands. I wiped away my tears, took a deep breath, and forced a smile. Let us end it here. As I turned to leave, he grabbed my arm, his stubborn gaze fixed on my face. It was Maria who suggested introducing Ethan to you. I never thought you'd actually fall for him. I pried his fingers off one by one, and panic flashed across his face. Angela, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have tested your feelings for me. Without waiting for him to finish, I walked away, without a shred of hesitation, my heart strangely calm. He had relished my forced smiles and submissive gestures, but it never occurred to him that one day I'd reach my breaking point. At noon, Ethan called to ask me out for lunch, but I wasn't in the mood and refused. He didn't give up calling me repeatedly until I finally picked up again. Angela, I want to see you, he said in a low, earnest voice. My heart softened as soon as I stepped out of the office building. I saw him standing tall under the blazing sun, holding a bouquet of vibrant roses. My heart softened even more. He strode toward me, his furrowed brow revealing the weight of countless unspoken worries. I'm sorry for letting you down yesterday. He handed me the flowers, his gaze clear and sincere, though the smile at his lips was strained. I didn't take the flowers, leading him straight to the cafe instead. After we sat down, I kept my head lowered, quietly waiting for him to speak. He seemed to be struggling with something, remaining silent for a long time. I couldn't help but say, it's okay, I'm mentally prepared. Leo and Maria had a fight. He looked at me, his Adam-esque apple bobbing. Maria was in a bad mood yesterday, got into an argument with someone at a bar, and ended up at the police station. She called Leo, but he didn't answer. So she asked me to bail her out. After leaving the station, I rushed to your place and saw Leo downstairs. He took a deep breath, lowered his lashes, and said softly, Angela, when I got Maria's call yesterday, my first thought wasn't to worry about her. It was to make sure you didn't find out Leo had fought with her. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to resist contacting him. I looked at him in surprise, a surge of joy welling up inside me. Last night, I was really afraid you'd go downstairs to meet Leo. The first stayed nearby all night. Angela, thank you for keeping your promise. His eyes were slightly red, and the curve of his lips was stiff. I broke my promise. I'm sorry. I sat up straight and looked at him earnestly. This is your chance to pursue Maria. Do you want to cherish it? I followed Maria for many years. She is cheerful and lively, while I'm introverted and dull. I knew early on that I wasn't her type. It has nothing to do with whether I'm good enough or not. He smiled faintly. Angela, I've already given up. The rose, passionate as fire and symbolizing love, was held in his hands as he approached me, gazing at me nervously. Angela, can you give me another chance? I promise I'll do better. I couldn't bring myself to look at him, my eyes fixed on the dazzlingly fresh flowers, hesitating for a moment. Having been the proactive one for so many years, I had long become skittish from repeated disappointments, seeing danger in every shadow. I'd grown accustomed to imagining the worst in every situation. He waited patiently for my reply, silent, yet resolute. I noticed his knuckles trembling slightly, and my heart stirred. His nervousness proved how much he truly cared. But what about Maria? He has loved her for so many years. If Maria were to turn back to him, could he still firmly choose me? Ethan, I've been truly happy with you during this time, but can you really handle things with Maria? If she breaks up with Leo and comes back to you, what would you do? He shook his head subconsciously. I smiled and stood up. Don't be too hasty with your decision. Let's both think it through clearly. 6. Leo disappeared. Maria came to my doorstep demanding to know his whereabouts. The once sweet girl, now, had exhaustion in her eyes. I told her that Leo had been through many relationships, each starting for inexplicable reasons, and ending just as mysteriously. This disappearance might simply be his way of breaking up. She wept with utter heartbreak, but when the tears subsided, she lifted her face and smiled at me, saying, I'm not like those other girls. I too once believed I was different, so I pursued it with relentless effort and loyalty. How are things with Ethan? He is a bit rigid. It's easy to feel bored with him. Maria asked, her eyes once again flashing the wariness I'd seen when we first met. She was still nervous about me and Leo. Ethan and I are doing well. He is not dull, just serious. I was testing her too. Seeing her believing expression, I breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't know about Ethan and my recent situation, which meant Ethan hadn't contacted her again. After Maria left, I took a walk alone along the tree-lined path. Suddenly, heavy rain began pouring from the sky. The crowd around me scattered in all directions, but I stood frozen momentarily, unsure of what to do. A black umbrella suddenly shielded me from above. My heart leapt with hope as I turned only to meet the face of a stranger. Bad breakup, how about swimming or fitness training? He shoved a flyer into my hands. Become the best version of yourself and make your ex regret it. Caught between laughter and tears, I bid the salesman farewell and ran home. Becoming a better version of myself, this phrase has been lingering in my mind over the years. In my pursuit of Leo, I've become fragile, sensitive, and constantly anxious about gains and losses. Even when Ethan was with me, showering me with care and tending to my emotions, I still couldn't shake off this sense of insecurity. I realized I should first regain my self-confidence rather than constantly seeking validation of my worth through others. Farewell, rebirth. At midnight, I made my decision and posted it on my social media. I didn't expect Ethan to like it, instantly commenting below, I support you. Looking at these 3 words, my feelings were complicated. Before I could figure out how to reply, he sent 3 messages in a row. Angela, are you saying goodbye to the past? I'm ready too. There's a project at the company recently. If done well, it could lead to a promotion. I'm already working hard on it. Let us work hard together and meet at the top, I replied. Not long ago, there was a learning opportunity at the company that required staying in Beijing for 3 months. At that time, I had something holding me back, so I didn't sign up. Now I want to give it a try. After telling Ethan about my plans, he replied, I support you. A moment later, he sent another message, I'll wait for you, Angela. Something in my chest fluttered faintly, and before I could fully grasp the meaning of his words, I'd already sent back a simple okay. Between Maria and me, had he made his choice. The next morning, when I went downstairs, there he stood in the familiar spot, a familiar figure in a deep blue suit, tall and straight, his gentle expression like spring breeze rippling across a lake. The sunlight perfectly outlined his silhouette, casting a radiant glow upon him. Angela, he strode toward me, I'm here to take you to work. Watching the brilliant smile at the corners of his lips, I found myself unconsciously mirroring it. Unlike any previous joy, I suddenly felt he completely belonged to me. After getting in the car, we didn't speak the entire ride. Only when we got out did he call out to me, his ears tinged red, Angela, I'll pick you up after work tonight. For some reason, I also felt a surge of shyness and quickly averted my gaze, murmuring a soft okay. The trip to Beijing for training was finalized. The colleague who had originally signed up voluntarily gave the spot to me when he learned I was the one going. He said that after knowing me for so long, it was the first time he'd seen me so passionate and driven, and he wanted to help me out. After work in the evening, Ethan was already waiting downstairs. He didn't drive, mumbling that his car had broken down. I couldn't help but chuckle to myself. This man had never been good at lying, his thoughts always written plainly on his face. All right, let us take a taxi then. With that, I started walking toward the roadside. He panicked, quickly blocking my path, his face flushed red. Angela, let us walk together. I raised an eyebrow, deliberately studying him with a probing expression. He caved and confessed honestly, I just want to spend more time with you. A cool breeze drifted by as the sunset's afterglow split the sky in two, one half gloomy, the other magnificently radiant. My heart gradually calmed down with each unhurried step. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message from Leo asking where I was. Without thinking, I turned it off and pretended nothing had happened. Ethan, I'm going to Beijing tomorrow afternoon. I'll be there for 3 months, I said softly, looking up. Ethan nodded. Once I finish this project, I'll come to Beijing to see you. We had walked very slowly, talking about many things, but when we reached the foot of the building, it still felt hard to part. I took the bag from his hand and awkwardly smiled as I said goodbye. He hesitated, as if wanting to say more, then finally ruffled my hair. Call me if you need anything, don't worry about bothering me. After returning home, I leaned against the door, my emotions unsettled for a long time. I ran to the window and looked out. He was still downstairs, slightly tilting his head as he gazed at my home. On a whim, I rushed downstairs, and under his delighted gaze feigned nonchalance as I said, I'm leaving tomorrow, and there are a few things I'd like to give you. Take care of them for me. Okay, he replied with a smile. It was the first time I brought him home, and though I was initially nervous, the sight of his flushed face and his awkward fidgeting posture made me burst into laughter. First time, I narrowed my eyes, watching him with amusement. He swallowed hard. In what way? My eyes suddenly widened as I scooted closer to him. What way do you think? His body stiffened, even more the tips of his ears turning so red they looked about to bleed, his breathing growing noticeably quicker. I was afraid he might bolt out the door the next second, so I quickly set aside my teasing thoughts and placed over a dozen small pots of succulents in front of him. Help me take good care of them. He let out a soft ah, then nodded vigorously after realizing what I meant. Okay, I will. I ordered takeout for us to share the small dining table, 3 dishes, and 2 people somehow filled the house with an inexplicably cozy feeling. He still remembers my habits, carefully picking out the cilantro when serving me soup. After the meal, he patiently cleared the table and took out the trash before leaving. The room fell silent again, and suddenly, I felt unaccustomed to it, a hollow emptiness settling in my chest. Ethan never voiced his feelings. A thin veil remained between us, keeping everything vague and uncertain. I had no idea what would happen during the days we wouldn't see each other. The phone screen lit up. Leo again. His message read, Angela Maria, and I broke up. There was also a photo filled with liquor bottles, the riverside visible in the background. Stay safe. I stared at the photo for a long time before replying. Almost the moment the message was sent, he started frantically calling me, hanging up and calling again, relentlessly persistent. On the 13th call, I finally answered, hearing a hoarse, exhausted voice on the other end. Angela, come pick me up. I can't find my way home. My heart ached sharply, the words of refusal stuck in my throat, impossible to voice. When I found Leo, he was sprawled on the riverbank slope surrounded by empty liquor bottles. The river wind howled fiercely, his figure appearing solitary and desolate in the night. I whispered his name, and he stirred slightly, turning his head to look at me, with eyes shimmering like moonlit ripples on the river. Come on, I'll walk you home, I said, as I moved to pick up the liquor bottles scattered on the ground. Suddenly, he grabbed my wrist, struggling to sit up. Angela, please don't. Ethan, okay? I paused in my movements, ignoring him. He released me in frustration, growling, Angela, Ethan, isn't right for you at all. He is only with you because Maria told him to. Are you an idiot? I slowly raised my head, my gaze darkening. Leo, stop making a scene. He pulled out his phone, opened a screenshot, and held it up to my face. Above is the chat history between Maria and Ethan. Maria, Leo keeps mentioning Angela to me, and I'm a bit scared. Can you help me? Ethan, how can I help? Maria, pursue her and keep her occupied, so she won't have time to look for Leo anymore. Maria, Ethan, please, I really like Leo. Once my relationship with Leo stabilizes, you won't have to deal with Angela anymore. Ethan, okay. The warmth inside me gradually drained away as I stood in the wind, my mind buzzing incessantly, momentarily unsure of what to do. Leo put away his phone and placed a hand on my shoulder. Angela, I'm sorry. I stared at him blankly. I know you've liked me for many years, and I've liked you for just as long, he said, lowering his lashes as his gaze fixed on my lips before slowly leaning down. Almost instinctively, I pushed with both hands, unable to control my strength. It was a bit too forceful. He had been drinking, unsteady on his feet, and tumbled into the river. Coming to my senses, I hurried to help him up. Drenched from head to toe, his eyes were unfathomably dark, revealing neither joy nor anger, his thin lips pressed into a tight line. After a long silent standoff, he pulled a room key from his pocket and handed it to me, then strode away, leaving a trail of crooked footprints in the snow. I clutched the key tightly, watching his retreating figure, while biting my lip to stifle any sobs. In the past, I would have followed him without hesitation, but now all I felt was shame and anger. The person I'd loved for so long had the moment we broke up reduced me to nothing more than a tool to ease his loneliness. I returned home, turned off my phone, and buried myself under the blankets, as if retreating into another world. After a night of painful reflection, I decided to draw a clear line with Ethan, and with Leo too. In the morning, Ethan was downstairs, as usual, waiting to pick me up for work. I remained silent the entire way until we were almost at the office. Finally gathering my emotions, I said to him, Ethan, I know you were with me because of Maria, but now that Leo and Maria have broken up, you don't need to keep an eye on me for her anymore, no matter what. Thank you for being so good to me these past days. I'm still glad to have had this experience. He glanced at me nervously, pulled the car over to the side of the road, and after lowering his head in thought for a moment, looked at me earnestly. Angela, the first time I met you was arranged by Maria. I had no idea getting to know you was a happy accident. I want to be with you, and it's never been because of Maria. Watching his lips part and close, a sense of helplessness welled up inside me. Ethan, didn't Maria say that once she and Leo were stable, you wouldn't have to bother with me anymore? They've broken up now, you don't have to do this. Suddenly understanding something, he quickly took out his phone and opened his chat with Maria. Look, I haven't actively reached out to Maria anymore. She did ask me to pursue you, but I never agreed to it. Taking the phone, I flipped through a couple of messages. The conversation from yesterday, a screenshot, was indeed there, but Ethan's words of refusal in the middle had been deleted, leaving only a single okay at the end. From recent chats, it's clear Ethan has been keeping Maria at arm's length, their conversations growing increasingly terse. I handed the phone back to Ethan, a more ineffable bitterness welling up inside me. Leo actually stooped so low as to sow discord, fabricating chat records. Was it really just to make me accept that hotel keycard? Has he really become this shameless? Ethan, Maria is single again. I suddenly realized that in that entire conversation, Ethan had only noticed my emotions and hadn't paid attention to the fact that Leo and Maria had broken up. He interrupted me, took my hand, his expression earnest, his gaze burning the tips of his ears crimson. Angela, I like you. The air seemed to stop flowing as I quietly met his eyes, watching his face gradually turn completely red. Angela, I can't help but feel happy whenever I see you. Every day I look forward to meeting you. Even the most trivial things become interesting when shared with you. I want to take care of you, to be with you, to stay with you always. These feelings are too complex to put into words. I'm not expressing them. Well, would you be willing to spend more time getting to know me? He finished speaking in one breath, his breathing slightly labored, a faint sheen of moisture glazing his eyes. I pressed my lips together, my hands resting on my knees, trembling uncontrollably. Ethan, while I'm away in Beijing, let us take this time to confirm things between us, okay, one last time. For many years, we've each harbored someone in our hearts. Now that they're both single again, I think we should consider this more deeply, empty our hearts first, then love anew. If not, then perhaps it's better to wait a little longer. Angela, I'll wait for you, he said solemnly. 8 before boarding the flight to Beijing, I blocked all of Leo's contact information. Everything seemed to have changed, yet somehow remained the same. The second day in Beijing, Maria reached out to me. Angela, I truly envy you. A guy likes you so much he doesn't dare to have you. Was she talking about Leo? I hesitated for a moment, but when I was about to reply, I realized she had already deleted me. Staring at the red exclamation mark on my phone, I felt a pang of sadness. Leo has hurt far more girls than just Maria and me over the years. That dangerous yet fragile aura of his is particularly attractive to girls, yet he treats their affection as mere playthings for his amusement. Likes me more like he has thought up some new game to play. At this realization, it suddenly dawned on me how naive I'd been to interpret Leo's behavior as mere immaturity, making endless excuses for him. Now I can finally admit he wasn't nearly as good as I'd believed. I shook my head, unwilling to dwell on it any longer. My schedule was packed, and the days passed in a fulfilling blur. Every day Ethan and I would cheer each other on. His workload had been particularly heavy lately, and during our video calls he looked utterly exhausted. Yet he still made time to show me he cared. It warmed my heart a little. One evening after work, I had just finished a phone call with Ethan, who told me his project had reached a critical stage and would soon be completed, when a sudden sharp pain gripped my stomach. I frantically searched for stomach medicine, but it was no use. The pain only grew more intense. Not daring to delay, I immediately called 120 for an ambulance. At the hospital, the doctor diagnosed acute appendicitis and said I needed surgery. I was grateful for my decisiveness, but as I lay on the operating table staring at the cold fluorescent light, a mix of grievance and fear welled up inside me. After the surgery, I lay alone in the hospital room, lost in thought. An unknown number suddenly called me, and without much thought, I answered. Angela, the company is sending someone abroad for a 6-month business trip. Should I go? The man's voice on the phone asked quietly, his anticipation palpable. I recognized that voice instantly. It was Leo. Biting back the pain, I tried to keep my voice steady. Leo, this is your business. I hadn't expected him to be so perceptive, catching the weakness in my tone. What's wrong with you? I didn't answer. After a long pause, Leo spoke again, his tone sharp. You don't want to tell me anything anymore, Angela? After all these years of friendship, are you just throwing it all away? Yes, I don't want it anymore. Leo, stop bothering me. I hung up the phone first. My heart was in turmoil. I wanted to call Ethan and pour out my feelings, but I was afraid of affecting him. After all, this was a turning point in his career. I drifted off to sleep in pain and woke up the next morning. There were many missed calls on my phone, some from Ethan, others from various unknown numbers. It must have been Leo's doing. He really knows how to stir things up. I dialed Ethan's number, but his phone was turned off. Not long after, my colleague called me, but when I answered, it was Leo's voice, hoarse and exhausted, as if he slept all night. Angela, let us just be friends again. Please don't hate me. There's no need anymore. As the words left my mouth, I saw Ethan stepping into the doorway, bathed in morning light, radiant, as if even his tousled hair brimmed with vitality. For a moment, I panicked, hastily hanging up the phone before staring at him in flustered silence. What are you doing here? He rushed in, dropping his laptop bag, his eyes rimmed red as he fixed his gaze on me. Thank God Leo told me you were hurt. Were you really planning to stay hospitalized alone, Angela? It turned out that Leo noticed something off in my voice last night and went to ask my colleagues about it. When he found out I was hospitalized, he angrily rushed to Ethan's company and had a big argument with Ethan, who was working overtime. According to Ethan, if security hadn't arrived in time, Leo might have resorted to physical violence. What about your work? Didn't you say it was at a critical stage? I asked Ethan, who was carefully studying my medical records. Without looking up, he casually replied, it's fine, there are other colleagues. I grew anxious and grabbed his hand. Does that mean the promotion opportunity will go to someone else? He paused in his movements, slowly raising his head to look at me with clear, transparent eyes brimming with youthful sincerity. Angela, in all things, I will always choose you first, regardless of gains or losses. My heart skipped a beat, and my cheeks burned hot. But the promotion is still happening. I need to work hard to earn money to marry you. He suddenly laughed, ruffling my hair. I've been working overtime to finish the project early, just so I could come to Beijing sooner to see you. Angela, I've missed you so much. At the mention of marriage, my heart seemed to stop for a few beats. The feeling of being included in someone's future, it was pure happiness. I miss you so much too, Ethan. 9. Ethan took a long leave from work to take care of me, and didn't he return even after I was discharged from the hospital. During the day, he accompanied me to classes, and at night, he walked me back to the hotel, watching over me as I did my homework. In this unfamiliar city, we came and went like an ordinary young couple. In the blink of an eye, classes ended, and it was time to return. I was extremely reluctant to leave, but I had already made up my mind. When the plane landed, I spotted Leo at the exit, standing next to my female colleague. Ethan clearly noticed too. He swiftly grabbed my hand and subtly closed the distance between us. Angela, over here, my colleague called out warmly. Leo knew you were coming back today and insisted on picking you up. Your friendship is really something special. I furrowed my brows and looked at Leo with displeasure. What's going on? Leo turned his head away, not daring to meet my gaze. I wanted to see you. So, you approached my colleague to ask about me. A chill ran down my spine, and my heart felt as heavy as if a huge rock were pressing on it. There's nothing to envy. We're not even friends anymore. I looked at my colleague and said earnestly, don't be fooled by him. Any kindness he shows you probably has ulterior motives. With that, I quickly walked away with Ethan, unwilling to spare Leo another glance. Ethan noticed everything, barely suppressing the smile tugging at his lips. I shot him a glare and grumbled unhappily, I never thought he'd actually make a move on my colleague. He leaned against my shoulder and whispered, Angela Maria, and I have completely broken things off now. Have we both thought this through clearly? I stayed silent for a moment, then grasped his hand and nodded firmly. Ethan, let us be together this time, not because of anyone else, but simply because you're Ethan. Pressing his lips together, he smiled with eyes sparkling like scattered starlight. Because you're Angela, I want to be with you for a lifetime. The scenery flying past the car window resembled fleeting memories, now utterly left behind by us. While Ethan still had a few days of vacation left, I took him back to my hometown to attend a class reunion. Leo didn't come according to our class monitor, he went abroad. It seems he has already made his choice. After dinner, the class monitor organized a trip to the wishing platform, our favorite hangout spot during school days. I had dragged Leo here by force to make wishes with me back when he mocked me for being childish. Seeing everyone else excitedly searching for their own wish plaques, Ethan quietly asked me, do you have one too? I nodded with a smile. He immediately rushed to the red wish plaques by the cliff edge and rummaged through them. After a long while, he found a slightly faded wish plaque. The childish handwriting read, Angela loves Leo and wants to be with him forever. Angela, you should change it, he said, looking at me expectantly, his voice carrying a hint of playful pleading. I pulled out a marker and carefully blacked out the name Leo, then replaced it with Ethan's name. The moment I finished, I mischievously wondered if I ended up with someone else, would I have to change it again? But in a fleeting thought, it's actually quite nice to approach every relationship with the intention of forever. As I rehung my sign, I noticed that behind where mine had been there was another plaque neatly inscribed, Leo loves Angela and wants to be with her forever. Judging by the plaque's patina, it had been there for years, no less time than mine had. For a moment I felt dazed. Ethan suddenly leaned in close to me and said awkwardly, this person's handwriting is quite nice. I snapped out of my thoughts and teased him, yeah, Leo's handwriting has been good since childhood, just like him. He turned his face away, gazing at the distant mountains shrouded in mist, and said flatly, let us go, I still want to check out other places. I agreed with him, but after just a few steps he ran back to the wishing wall in a huff, found Leo's plaque carefully, and thoroughly blacked out Leo's name, and then added his own. After fixing Leo's part, he wasn't satisfied until he dug out my piece and blackened Leo's name even darker. I watched his profile, my heart brimming with sweetness. I recognized this childishness. It only emerges when facing someone you adore. Like a little kid, petty and unreasonable, selfishly wanting to possess everything. The day I left my hometown, I received a letter. Which of the women who liked him wasn't he curious about me? After all, I was his closest female friend, yet he never arranged for us to meet. The handwriting was bold, carrying a sharp edge. Angela, I'm a coward. Despite liking you so much, I never had the courage to claim you. I feared growing tired of each other over time, feared you would leave me, and even more feared you would see through my true nature and look down on me. Only as friends could we maintain a safe distance forever. But I was too greedy. When you truly stopped liking me and started treating me as just an ordinary friend, I felt utterly heartbroken. Your happiness will no longer have anything to do with me, and I will never be happy again. Goodbye, Angela. I'm sorry, Angela, forgive me for not being able to wish you well. After reading the letter, I let out a long sigh. After all these years of twists and turns, this is the outcome we've arrived at. It only proves that Leo and I were never meant to be. Ethan returned from the corner store with my father, both chatting and laughing like father and son. I rushed over and linked my arm with Ethan's. Noticing the letter in my hand, his expression shifted slightly. What's wrong? I shook my head with a smile. The story is over. Leo is over from now on. It's just me and Ethan. The end.